Today I harvested some Swiss chard, fresh chives, grape tomatoes, cilantro, and basil. We're going to add that into a pasta dish today. So let's get started. Hello, YouTube. I'm Stephanie. I'm one half of Team Read, and today I decided to show some of you some of the things that we harvest from the garden and how we incorporate it into our meals. So today I'm going to make a pasta dish. It's a vegetarian dish. Some of you may know Alfonso is vegetarian, and I'm sometimes vegetarian. So I'm going to be making a pasta dish that he likes, and it's going to include some Swiss chard from the garden. I have some basil, some fresh chives, some cilantro, and some grape tomatoes. So we'll start with this dish by chopping up the Swiss chard. So before I started the video, I soaked the Swiss chard in icy water for about 30 minutes or so, and that will help reduce the bitterness from the Swiss chard. Swiss chard is very similar to spinach, but in my opinion, Swiss chard has a better flavor than spinach. Um, so I'm a little bit biased. But anyway, we'll start with chopping the Swiss chard, and I have here. So I cut the stems out of the Swiss chard. The stems can be used similar to asparagus, so you can save it and cook it as you would asparagus. But the stems are a little bit sweeter, so you can even incorporate it into your Swiss chard dish itself when you're sauteing it. So I'll go ahead and chop this up and get it ready to saute. And then we're going to add the noodles to the water. And the noodles of choice today is going to be angel hair pasta. Doesn't take very long to cook. And we're going to, when it finishes the cooking process, we're going to incorporate it all together. Okay, we have our angel hair pasta. Water's boiling. We have our saucepan. And we have our ingredients, which is table salt, tomato pesto, sugar, and fresh ground black pepper. Okay, Swiss chard has been chopped and it's to the side, so we'll go ahead and chop up the herbs and the tomatoes to get them ready to mix into the dish. So these are grape tomatoes, and so we have the orange and the red, and I think the orange are a little sweeter than the red, but they're both really, really good. So we're gonna add these into the dish as well. We try to incorporate as many vegetables as we can, especially, um, since we're not really consuming, well, myself, I'm not consuming very much meat, and Alfonso not eating meat at all. So we try to definitely make the dish filling and full of nutrition. So we're going to add tomatoes this time to it. And the tomatoes will actually combat some of the bitterness because these are actually really sweet tomatoes. We have our basil here from the garden, and it's sweet and it adds really good flavor to pasta dishes as well. So we're going to add a little bit in there. And I'm just going to slice it just a little bit. You don't have to, but I like it in smaller pieces so you can have more in each bite as opposed to having like the chunks in there. And then we have a little bit of cilantro from our cilantro plant. So this is going to be very aromatic in the dish, but we like it. Alfonso really likes cilantro, particularly in our guacamole and our jerk dishes. It's pretty good in there. So we try to incorporate cilantro as much as we can before it bolts in the garden, because then it doesn't produce as many leaves for you to be able to harvest. And last, we have our chives, which is mostly going to be used as a garnish at the end of the cooking process. Um, but it adds good flavor too. And so today I'm going to add the purple flour. So this is the purple flour from the chives that I was telling you guys about that I ate by itself. So we're going to actually add it as a garnish this time. So it's not going to be as bold um, as I had the other day. So I'll finish chopping the chives and then we'll go ahead and get started with adding the pasta to the water and sauteing the Swiss chard. This is a very simple dish. No, we're not chefs, but we do like to cook. Alfonso's really great at barbecue. So if you've had this barbecue, you know exactly what I mean. Even though he's vegetarian, he still makes excellent barbecue. So um, I'm the sides person. So I usually cook up the sides and have them ready to pair with the barbecue. Okay, so everything's chopped and I'm going to go ahead and transfer over to the closer to the stove and then we'll get started. Okay, we have our water boiling. Inside the water, we have a little bit of salt and some avocado oil. And we're going to add the angel hair pasta to that in a second. And we also have our saucepan set at a medium low temperature because we don't want it too hot, but just warm enough so that um, the oil can move around a lot better in the pan. So we'll start with the pasta. And so I do break my angel hair pasta because I do like to be able to move it around more in the sauce. So you don't have to break yours, but I do break mine. And I use equivalent to 3/4 of a pack of pasta. Okay, so we'll let that boil while we prepare our stir fry. Okay, so in the saucepan, we're going to add some avocado oil. And we're going to add our Swiss chard. Okay, it has a pretty good sizzle on it, and that's mainly because there's water on the leaves, and it's you know um, oil in the pan, but it's fine. Now we're going to add in our cilantro and basil, and our seasoning, which I am using 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Because, we don't really cook with a lot of salt anyway, so I use kosher salt. And some fresh ground black pepper. This is a half a teaspoon. And we're also adding a half a teaspoon of sugar. And this is going to take away some of the bitterness. Mix that. All right, we'll add our lid to let it simmer just a little bit in there. And we'll check our pasta. Definitely want to continue to stir this and check it so that your noodles aren't overcooked. Now, we're also going to add um, a sun-dried tomato pesto to this mix. So we're not using any other sauce, like a spaghetti sauce or anything like that. Just we want just enough sauce on here to coat all the noodles and the vegetables in it. So it's not going to be a saucy dish. It's mainly going to be something that the sauce can stick to without being too wet. So we'll check the Swiss chard. So these are some of my favorite uh, pans to cook with. They're stainless steel and they have a thick copper bottom. And we got them from Costco. It's one of our favorite stores to shop. They have lots of like new stuff in there every time. So Costco's one of those places where you didn't know you needed it until you went to Costco. So every time we go, we find something else that we knew we needed at that point. But yeah, these are my favorite. Very even cooking. Just helps the dishes turn out how you want them to. So um, I don't think they have the stainless steel anymore. I think we may have purchased this and then it discontinued for a little while. I'm hoping they come back because I do want to get more pots. But until then, I have these. So we're going to give the Swiss chard another stir. So Swiss chard, when you're cooking it, like spinach, will reduce a lot. Um, so even though the pan was full, now it's obviously doesn't look that way. So just be prepared for it to reduce a lot, like with any greens that you're cooking. So if you're looking to have more greens in your dish, just add more of that to it so you can have more in there. Noodles look good. So we're actually gonna turn off the burner for this. And just set it to the side here while we finish up the Swiss chard. It's cooking pretty good, and so we're gonna add in the tomatoes. And we're gonna add in a little bit more avocado oil. We prefer avocado oil. It definitely has a higher burn point than olive oil, and to me, it has a better taste. So we're gonna saute it for maybe another 3 to 5 minutes because I don't want the tomatoes reduce too much, I still want the whole tomato in the pasta. So we'll let it cook just a little bit more, but not too long. We're really cooking it to make the Swiss chard a little bit more tender before we mix it into pasta. You definitely want to continue to stir to nothing sticking, which in these pans they usually don't anyway. But if you don't have these pans, it's good to stir. So we do use um, a small amount of seasoning in the beginning um, part of the cooking, mainly because there's lots of flavor and seasoning in the pesto sauce. So you don't want the seasoning to be too overpowering to where you can't enjoy the natural flavor that's in the Swiss chard and the tomatoes and the basil and the cilantro. So we try to keep it to where you can taste everything. You can eat the dish and know that hey, there's basil in here. Hey, there's cilantro. So and you can taste the tomatoes. So while that's simmering a little bit, we're gonna drain the noodles. Right, so we'll set the noodles to the side here. Okay. Okay, so now we're gonna add the noodles. And we're gonna try to fold the tomatoes and the Swiss chard into the noodles. And now we're gonna add in the tomato pesto sauce. And this is 2 tablespoons. We start there. And then if you want to add more, then you should. But as you can see, it's definitely adding more color, and you're just going to mix it until it's evenly spread throughout the noodles. And again, it's not going to be a saucy dish. It's just going to lightly coat the noodles. So another um, noodle that is good to use is the penne pasta. It's pretty good. So we'll let that simmer a bit, cover it, and we'll check it again in about 5 minutes. Okay, so we're gonna check the pasta. All right. Everything looks good. Tomatoes are still intact, so we're ready. So I'll reduce the heat to low, so it's just on a simmer. We're gonna cover it and we're done. Okay, everything's done, so we're gonna go ahead and plate everything. So I have garlic knots. I like garlic knots whenever we have pasta, so I have that. We're going to add some on here. Get some tomatoes on there. Right. And we're gonna garnish with the chives. And I have the flour, so I'm gonna add some of the flour to my dish as well. And again, I like the plants that are definitely fully edible. And I'm looking forward to seeing the difference in the taste when it's actually used as a garnish for a meal. Right. So this is what we have. Thank you for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe.